Do you ever wonder why we're so drawn to characters like Jon Snow in Game of Thrones? Sure, he's a badass, but what is it that makes us feel such an emotional attachment to him? It's because he's human. He makes mistakes and he has flaws just like you and I. We can see in the first season that Jon really struggles with who he is and what he is, a bastard. We can see him in the Winterfell courtyard sulking and moaning that he's basically the runt of the litter, that he's not a Stark. We can see him in one of the scenes literally hacking and slashing at this sword dummy essentially. And I think this is good symbology to a lot of us in our lives, where we just hack and slash at ourselves because we don't actually like who we are, and the flaws we have that make us really what we are, they make us human. Jon kind of continues on this path of hating himself until a very important figure steps into his life, Tyrion Lannister, and this is where he learns his first hugely important leadership trait, which a lot of us can learn from, and that is to love yourself. And to truly love yourself, you have to own who you are and love who you are. This all encapsulates Jon and changes who he is when Tyrion runs into Jon in the Winterfell courtyards. Tyrion sees Jon sulking and moaning, and Tyrion offers some profound advice that really affects Jon and changes his whole course and direction throughout the show. Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you. Tyrion's advice to Jon profoundly changes how he sees himself throughout the series. Instead of hating who he is and what he is, a bastard, he begins to own who he is and what he is, warts and all, and love himself for being what he is, a bastard. And this is where he really develops this first leadership trait in owning what you are and loving what you are. And this really helps him going forward, because one thing people are so attracted to him is he never sees himself above anybody. He sees everybody as his equal. And in that regard, nobody ever feels like he's being treaded on or Jon sees himself as above them. Jon sees himself as Jon, and he loves who he is, and he's going to do his best to get other people to love who they are and protect them and really be the shield that guards the realms of men. So this is where Jon can really teach us our first leadership lesson in to be a truly effective leader, you have to own and love who you are. For all your negative aspects and your perceived flaws, just own them and love yourself for having them, because like with Jon, they can turn out to be your greatest strengths, but just own them, work on them, and love yourself for them. And then people will love you for it, because that is the biggest form of courage out there in the world today, to truly love who you are. And everybody in the world, that's all we want deep down, is to love ourselves. And if we can see other people who love themselves for who and what they are, no matter what people say, we will be drawn to them. We will see them as a leader in their lives and in our lives. Being the young buck who arrives at Castle Black, Jon is basically like all of us on our first day coming out of college into a new job, and we think we know everything, but then reality soon hits us. We know nothing. We're brought down to a cold reality. Jon comes into Castle Black basically like the hot shot, where he's actually in ways above these people like thieves, drunk, rapists, whatever, whoever gets brought into Castle Black. And he's pretty quickly brought down to scale by Geo Mormont, who's basically the head of Castle Black there, where he takes Jon by the scruff of the neck and he says, if you really want to lead, learn how to follow. And this is something a lot of us can take into our lives, where we'll go into the workplace, we think we know everything, and it's pretty quick we learn that we know nothing. So to get on this path of learning, to get us to that leadership place we want to be, we got to find ourselves mentors who can help us get there. So Jon immediately finds Geo Mormont. Another one he finds is Benjen Stark, where Jon is immediately hoping to get out on the road, be that first ranger, where Benjen, again, similar to Geo, gets him, takes him aside and tells Jon, a man gets what he earns when he earns it. And this is something a lot of us do forget, where we become so encapsulated by the peak of what we want to achieve, the summit. We forget about all the work that it takes to get there, all the shit we have to endure. And that's something which Benjen teaches Jon, that he needs to learn what it is to be a member of the Night's Watch, and he needs to earn his right to be a leader and to get there, because that's only when he can be a good leader, when he has all this experience behind him, this knowledge, this wisdom, and this ability to learn adapt, and overcome that will make him a great leader and brings him into a second leadership quality, which is to listen to feedback and find yourself a mentor who can teach you what you need to learn to get where you want to go. Jon, as a result of the second leadership strategy, he listens, he learns, and he adapts quickly. We see this adaptability when he comes across Mance Rayder. He begs Mance Rayder to bend the knee to Stannis, so to save the lives of thousands and thousands of his people. But Mance, to protect his ego, to protect his pride as the king of the north who never bent the knee, he refuses, and thousands of his people die. Jon later learns from Tormund an important statement and lesson in leadership when Tormund says, Mance Rayder, the king of the north who never bent the knee. How many of his people died for his pride? This sinks in deeply with Jon, and we see it later where Jon is faced with a similar conundrum to Mance, where Dany, this southern ruler-ish, is demanding him to bend the knee, and Jon can feel his pride holding him back. He's feeling that northern pride that we don't bend the knee to a southerner. And in the end, he has to face a conundrum. Does he do what's right and save the lives of thousands and thousands of people with Dany's help, or does he keep his pride and put his whole region at risk? This is a hard decision, and in the end, Jon makes the right one, which is, even though it is the right decision, but he's hated for it, and he knows he will be hated for it. But that's what leadership is, when you make the right decision, even though people are going to doubt you for it and people are going to hate you for it. And this is the third leadership strategy which Jon brings us into, and that is to do the right thing no matter what people say, no matter what people think. Jon learns his third leadership strategy from an unusual source, from actually someone he hates, Sir Alliser Thorne. This harkens back to an old Chinese proverb that says failure should actually be celebrated because it's just the enemy teaching you the path to success. So Jon learns this from Sir Alliser when they're both standing atop the wall with a huge horde of a wildling army approaching, and Sir Alliser bemoans to Jon that they should have in fact closed the gate, and he lays a quote on Jon that profoundly impacts Jon's leadership throughout the rest of the show, and that is, you know what leadership is, Jon Snow? Leadership is when every clever little twat with a mouth gets to second guess you. But if you ever start to second guess yourself, that's the end for you, for all the clever little twats, for everyone. And this is a hugely important leadership lesson for Jon, which is to trust yourself. To trust yourself despite what the naysayers are saying, to trust yourself despite what the haters are saying. And this comes profoundly into effect when Jon is Lord Commander in the Night's Watch and he's debating whether to let the wildlings pass the wall or not. He even has this quiver of doubt, like a lot of us do before a big decision, where he knows people are going to hate him for this decision. He goes to Maester Aemon. Before he can even say it, Maester Aemon butts in. He's like, that doesn't even matter, essentially. You do. That half the watch, they hate you already, but you do. Kill the boy and let the man be born. And this is the essence of a lot of leadership, in my opinion, where you essentially have to kill the boy, where you're worried about what people think, what people will say about you, if people will hate you. And leadership is doing the right thing despite what others think of you, despite if others talk crap on you, despite if others talk shit on you, to do the right thing in spite of all these things. And a lot of us can feel and relate this to our lives, where maybe there is something deep down that we want to do, whether it's start a business, start acting, start singing, open up a pastry shop, I don't know, but we always have something we know deep down we want to do, but it's honestly people's opinions, and they could be people close to us, like our parents, our family, or friends, that hold us back. But true leadership is doing the right thing by you in spite of all that. And that's what draws people to leaders, is because they have the courage to do what's right for them and to love who they are. And that's all of what of us deep down want to do, is to love who we are. And if we can see someone else do that, they are a true leader to us. They are a great leader to us. They are an amazing leader to us. So there you have it, Jon's 3 leadership lessons that all of us can put into our lives, into practice today. So you have 1, love yourself, 2, listen to feedback, and 3, trust yourself. Let me know which of these is your favorite Jon trait, or if there's another leadership trait that I might have missed that you think is a huge part of Jon's character arc throughout the show. And if you enjoyed this content, please consider liking, subscribing. Until next time, peace out.